All right, all right, all right. Okay, guys, what I want for Christmas is for each and every one of you to handle your business. That's what I want for Christmas. You guys to handle your business, and hopefully, I'll put you in the best position to handle your business. So, the way it's going to shape out is Wednesday, obviously, we have our third test. And then between emails or you guys coming to see me during office hours or Friday, we're going to make sure we're all on the same page about whether or not you choose to take your final. Now, that's totally your call. But my intent with this is finals time. What's the politically correct way of saying it? Sucks. You have a lot of stuff going on. I know. And so adding another final when you're already depleted of your time and resources. So what I do is I say, hey, there's going to be no new material. And if you're happy with your A, spend that time on other stuff. If you're happy with your B, spend that time and energy on other stuff. If you're happy with your C, you. But if you're close, I can't give it to you, nor should I, nor should you want me to. But you can come in, retake material that you've already learned, and earn that next grade. That's what it's all about. Okay, that's what it's all about. So that's how Friday is going to be, kind of making sure we're on the same page. Grades, obviously, I'll be happy to answer any questions or clarifications, but it's putting you in the best position for you to make a play. Some of my favorite, and we're going to get to the review, but I think we're in pretty good spot. Some of my favorite moments is when students, maybe they start off slow. We all have our days, we all have our semesters. But they put in the work, and I can tell. I've been doing this for a long time. I can tell. I can just ask a couple of questions, and I can just put in the work. And when students put in the work and earn that D to a C, C to a B, B to an A, the joy that we both feel in that moment is priceless. It's a gift, but it's earned. And I'm not going to allow former students who have put in the work and earned those, not just grades, but earned those moments. Earn those moments. I'm going to disrespect. Okay. So Grace is here to help. I'm here to help. You can do it. I've told you, I play poker with my cards out. You know exactly what I'm going to ask. You know how I'm going to ask it. Let's make a play. All right. Good. On to ready break. Grace, do you have announcements for reviews or anything going on?
Still cover and grades.
Okay. Everybody get that? Remember, these reviews, kind of like this review, is meant for someone who's just looking at this stuff for the first time. This is meant to fine-tune, clarify, making sure we're on the same page. Again, you know exactly ask it. So let's this is what they say in football, a walkthrough. I guess you'd say it in other fields of area of athletic interest as well. The game plan is in. We know the strategy we need to use for the other team. This is just a walkthrough to make sure that there's no miscommunications. All right, guys, who wants to break the ice? Let's get it started. Let's get it started. Yeah, let's get it started in here. Now, well, anybody, anywhere. Yeah, quick class, Grace. That's good though. We've put in the work. Y'all put in the work. So there's not a lot of clarification. What's great about today, Grace? I get paid regardless. Not a lot, but I get paid.
Can you do some pelvic girdle or rotation right there?
Sure. Help me funnel it down. I could, but I want us to practice kind of, do you want feet, do you want feet to hip? I mean, do you want feet on the ground? Do you want feet off the ground? Do you want trunk to pelvis? Do you want hip to pelvis? What plane? Do you want frontal? Do you want transverse? Do you want sagittal? Do you want a knee? Do you want standing? Do you want
Lower extremity, more with the
okay?
adductors.
Okay, yeah. So we'll go frontal plane stuff with both feet on the ground. Okay, so remember in exam 2, let's see if I can do this right. Exam 2, we talked about how the pelvic girdle can rotate because of hip stuff. If I was off the ground, my feet are off the ground, my pelvic girdle can rotate because of trunk stuff. In this case, pelvic girdle rotation is because of hip motion. And so all we're doing is we're saying, well, if the pelvic girdle rotation is because of motion in my hip, it's logical to also then take the next step and say, well, then the pelvic girdle rotation must be because of muscles at my hip. That's all we're doing. It's saying if there was hip motion to make the pelvic girdle rotation happen, then there must be hip muscles responsible for making the pelvic girdle rotation happen. Okay. So in the case of, I think in class we did ones like, if I stand on my right leg and I do right lateral, I need y'all to see that it was my right hip abductors that made the right lateral pelvic girdle rotation happening because gravity's trying to spin it to the left. So I have to make it tilt to the right. I have to make it pour water out the right side using my right hip abductors. Okay. I think we did some stretching once, right? Where I do left lateral, I'm stretching left hip adds. If I do right lateral, I'll be stretching right hip adds. And you feel that stretch. Because my right hip is abducting, so I'm going to be lengthening muscles that pull in the other direction. Gravity's not trying to make me lateral, so I got to make it happen. I got to make this motion happen. I got to make that motion. Thought I had pockets. Go. And if we were off the ground, so let's say, Grace, I don't know if we did this example. Remember that. So what's kind of cool about learning these tools is that you don't have to have seen every example. In the real world, it's impossible to see every type of athlete with every set of circumstances, every possible injury under every possible age group. So we have to just take our tools and then learn how to implement it. Okay. So if I was on a Roman chair or if my feet are off the ground and my upper extremity is fixed and I did right lateral pelvic girdle rotation, and it's not because of my hips, because my hips are free to around, right? So in this case, I would need my left laterals, but instead of pulling my ribs this way, it's literally pulling my pelvis that way. That makes sense. So that would be an example of where I would need my trunk muscles to make the pelvic girdle rotation. It's no different. We've done this one many a times with your swivel chair, right? I have to use trunk muscles to make the pelvic girdle spin transversely. Reverse crunches make the pelvis move sagittally using trunk muscles. It should be no different frontally. Trunk muscles. Like literally my left lateral trunk bender is just raising my right side up. We broke the ice. The next question should be easier. Thank you. Grace, do you remember what your third test in 310 was like? Easier, harder?
It was a little bit harder just because, well, first of all, it's been during the summers.
Oh, yeah.
But,
Praise be.
yeah, I feel like I would be more comfortable with it, because we've had a lot of times practice,
Mhm.
but like also if you don't understand it, like it's not too late to understand it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like if you're still confused about stuff, like that's totally okay. We still have time to go over it and yeah.
So you tell me there's a chance. So I think it's important for you to keep practicing your motions. Keep practicing your motions, not emotions, but your joint motions. In other words, how can we tell what gravity is trying to do to our radioulnar joint if we don't know what the motion is? You got to give yourself a chance. A lot of questions you can do process of elimination and get it down to 2 options anytime. Put the odds in your favor. Two and a half, 5, 7.5, 10, 12.5, 15, 17.5, 20, 22.5, 25, 27, 30, 32.5, 35, 37.5, 48. Want to have some fun? Nobody moves. They're like, I don't trust them. All right, let's do this. Let's have some fun. We're going to draw a line right here. You guys go meet that group on the right side. You guys go meet that. We have a little practice quiz contest where I'm going to give y'all some questions. You guys could talk amongst yourselves. We'll do a points-based system, and the winner will get absolutely nothing. I'm joking. You never know. All right, y'all think the best? I guess we'll go back and forth so that way it's not a race. Okay? Team right side, team left side. Campbell, our right or your right? First question. You guys. How many muscle groups are there? How did I teach you to answer that? There are as many muscle groups. Y'all can discuss. Discuss amongst yourselves. Do you guys know an answer? How many muscle groups are you accountable for? How would you answer that? Y'all have an answer and you want to pass, and if you pass, they get double. Let's have an answer. Yeah, what you got? Yeah. There's as many muscle groups as there are joint motions. I'm not going to ask you to memorize a number. It's a concept, right? We have as many agonists, and that should make you feel better about it. Like, man, how am I going to learn? Well, if my wrist flexes and extends, I have to have flexion pullers and extension pullers. If my wrist ulna and radial deviates, I have to have ulna deviators and radial deviators. If my neck bends to the left, I have muscles that pull to the left. It's meant to make things easier. Okay. Double points. You guys are at 1,000,000 points. I never said how many points these questions were. So y'all are at 1,000,000. This next question is worth 5 points. Let's get weird. Muscles can only pull. That's right. They can only pull. Even when you're at rest, they're pulling. Even when you die, they're pulling. Muscles can only pull. Muscles can't push and pull. That's weird because we can push on things. Bones can push. But bones can push because our muscles are pulling to make them push. Does that make sense? That's important to understand. Muscles can only pull, and that's why we have to have strings that pull in every direction in motion. If muscles can push and pull, all I would need is bicep. I wouldn't need tricep because it can do this and this. Right? Okay, good. 1,000,000 points. Feel like we're in Harry Potter when Gryffindor is getting their butts beat all year long, and they've already celebrated Slytherin's victory, and then all of a sudden Dumbledore, wait, a few final points for remembering to flush the toilet. 1,000,000 points for Gryffindor. Oh, it's just a bug, man. All right, next question. You guys. Standing here, I do this. What was the agonistic group and through which muscle contraction? Obviously, you guys can write down the questions as we practice. That slowed down my left transverse cervical rotation. Who did it and how? Slowing down the left transverse cervical rotation. Give it some thought, discuss it, make sure you're all on the same page, be part of the conversation. That's how we learn. That's right. Right transverse cervical rotators through eccentric contraction. Did those same muscles make me speed up to the left? No, because they can't push me to the left, right? So the muscles that sped me up this way can't push me to a stop. These are going to turn off. These are going to turn on, putting on the brakes. Because the last thing you want to do is get to the end of your range of motion when ligaments and other materials are breaking you. That you want muscles to put on the brakes. That's like saying, I'm going to press the gas on the car, but I don't need my brakes to slow me down. I'm just going to hit the wall. That'll do it. So we use our muscles to slow down our motion so that we don't hit bone on bone, or we don't stress our ligaments to slow us down. You don't want the knee ligaments to stop your extension. You want muscles to stop your extension so that you're not putting that workload on those ligaments. Okay? All right, guys, next one. Let's see here. Standing, shoulder width apart. From here, I do right transverse pelvic girdle rotation. What would be the agonistic muscles and the contraction of my left hip? Left hip, give it some thought, discuss. There's no clock here. Standing here, I do right transverse pelvic girdle rotation. Give me the agonistic muscles of the left hip. I'll tell you what, we'll do it like this. This will be fun. One person in the front, take out a sheet of paper. One person, look, this is just for learning. and what's your final answer. So that way both groups can answer. Put your final answer on a piece of paper and I'll take a look at it. So that way y'all both get the practice. And also while you're at it, put the names. Maybe you can pass that paper around. I want to see who came to class today. And while you're at it, that's too many while you're at it. Scott, did y'all put down an answer? Or y'all still thinking about it? Put that left hip. Y'all have an answer? All I did was confirm that it was the left hip because that's what I asked. Do y'all have an answer? Yeah. Left hip, external rotators. Absolutely. Remember, guys, if you're taking a basketball and you're spinning it, your right and your left hand are going to do two different things. They can't do the same thing, or the basketball wouldn't spin. They have to do opposite things. Does that make sense? So my right hip, that's why motion is so important. My right hip had internal rotation, which I had to make happen through concentrics, and my left hip had external rotation, which I had to make happen concentrics. Make sense? Okay. All right. I'm going to reverse engineer a question. I'm going to give you information, and you need to think about what must have to happen. If my elbow extensors are working eccentrically, what joint motion must be happening? Whether it's allowed or slowing down, it doesn't matter. If elbow extensors are working eccentrically, what joint motion must be happening? Don't answer it out loud. Give it a thought. Have a conversation. Whether it's the person in front of you or the person on the side of you. In my unprofessional opinion, this is the best way to study, is in small groups or with people. Zoom if you have to. But to me, this is the best way to study.
Yeah.
That's right. Got to have flexion. Does anybody have any questions or clarifications about that? All right, I'm going to try this approach. I'm going to give, it's going to be the same example, but I'm going to give each side two different questions. Because we're learning as we go. Learning as we go. All right, for you guys, what would be the agonist? And I'm not going to tell you where, because we know where by now. We know where this is happening. Agonist and contraction, if the feet start to go up in this exercise. Agonist and contraction, if the feet start to go down in this exercise. Starting position. So in other words, the elevator is stopped, isometric for both of you. You press play, the elevator goes up for you guys, the elevator goes down for you guys. Make sense? This little experiment was done in honor of Dr. George, who died almost a year ago today. When I was in this class, at the end of every semester, he would divide the class into gender, boys against girls. He would just pop us with questions. Good times. And after about the fourth question I got right, he said, "You can't play anymore." I'm like, "That's not fair. The first class now. It's not first days. Are we good? Y'all got an answer? Awesome. How about you guys? Are y'all good? Still talking? We're still discussing? Okay. I don't know the answer. I have to figure it out every time. I've done hundreds of these. But because things are confusing, motion muscles, I walk through the same process every time. Okay. So I'm going to think of it. The way I look at it is you could always stop a motion, press pause, figure out the isometrics, and then press play. Kind of how I do it. Gravity would be trying to twist my trunk to my right. Yes, it's trying to spin the pelvis to the left, but in doing so, it's trying to twist my trunk to my right. Good. I don't need muscles that are trying to twist my trunk to the right. I don't need right transverse trunk pullers. I need left. That's how I do it every time. I'm going to teach you who those muscles are, but the same muscles that are trying to do this are also trying to do this. Okay? So I need left transverse trunk rotators. If my feet come up, that's actually left transverse trunk rotation. So it has to be concentric contraction. If my legs go down, that's right transverse. And so it must be eccentric. Good. It's okay to not see this question and know immediately, nor you shouldn't. I mean, you might be a savant, that's cool. But as long as you have the tools to figure it out, just like in life, man. You know, doctors don't know everything, nurses don't know everything, therapists don't know everything, but they have the tools and the practice to figure it out and make adjustments. That's what I'm trying to teach you guys. I'm trying to teach you guys how to think. I'm still working. All right, how about we do this one? Do y'all want, you tell me, do y'all want some easy ones? Y'all want some hard ones? Y'all want some medium-sized ones? I want some hard ones. Okay, let's do it. Let's do hard. I like this one. Same example, but I'm going to give you all different questions. Okay. Starting position, his right knee his right hip is flexed, his right knee is flexed. Left knee on the ground. Okay. On your mobile device, it'll be easier to see, but just the system is bad. From here, he does left transverse pelvic girdle rotation. Okay. Left transverse pelvic girdle rotation. I want you guys to talk to me about which muscles would be stretched once he gets to the end of that range of motion. Left transverse pelvic girdle rotation. Talk to me about who's going to be stretched at both hips. I want you guys to talk to me about the muscles and the contractions that had to take for him to get to the end of that at both hips. Cool. Fair. Discuss. Like Southwest Airlines, you're free to move about the country. Also, feel free on the test. Figure it out. Feel it. See it. If it helps. Still discussing? Good. I'm gonna turn that question upside down. Are we bad? Are we bad? All right. Let's start on this end because you guys' question is going to be the end result of what happens over here, okay? So you guys are going to make the left transverse pelvic girdle rotation happen because of left hip internal rotators and right hip horizontal abductors. I'm going to teach you who those muscles are, but we have to just understand I have to have muscles that pull in those two directions of motion to make those motions happen in the absence of any external force, right? When we get to the end of that range of motion, you guys are going to be stretching right hip horizontal adductors, and you're going to be stretching left hip external rotator. You can feel that stretching in the back. Okay. Questions or clarifications? All right, let's do, it's not even an easy one. Let me give you a standard question. Standard question. Okay, so the elevator is stopped. Oh, before that, Ron, chasing butterflies. I need to remind us how to look for clues, context clues. So, all right, the room is possessed. That's weird. So if you're like, well, wait, which one is on the ground? Is it right? Is it left? Guys, let's look for clues. This is his left hip. We can see it. Look how the knee is in front of that one. It has to be the one closest to us. His right arm is on his right leg. His right arm isn't on his left. His left arm is powered. So there's clues to kind of help us to confirm, sometimes it's kind of, it's obvious when we point it out. But there's clues in the clothing, there's clues in the structures. But I mean, if you call me over and say, is that his right or his left? I'll look at it and be like, there's enough there to be a difference. All right, here we go. Let's do a standard question. Same thing, I'll give you all the same example and different questions. From bad, wrong, but don't. I want something where it's kind of in the middle. Yay. Somewhere in the middle. Y'all see why I didn't like that one? Because it was kind of all the way at the end of the range of motion. So I really only had one question I can ask. Feet go down. Starting in this position, we press play, feet go down. Starting in this position, we press play, feet go up. And I know what you're saying. Campbell is being a hypocrite. Yes, I am. I can be a hypocrite. I'm using layman's terms to test whether you know the other stuff. Does that make sense? So although we don't like to use up, down, front, back, left, right, it might confuse us. I'm using the layman's terms to ask my question. Make sense? Feet go down, feet go up, agonist contraction, go. Good. So I would say this is a standard, like bread and butter question. Right? The machine's trying to flex you. You don't need muscles that are trying to flex you. You need muscles that are trying to extend you. We call those the knee extensors. Campbell, why don't you say the quads? Well, what are the quads? Vastus medialis, lateralis, intermedius, rectus femoris. But quads doesn't tell me pull. Direction of pull helps me to see who I need better than random Latin names. I need muscles that are pulling in the direction of knee extension because I have a machine that's pushing in the direction of knee flexion. Much easier to be able to see who I need. Right? If I observe extension, when the feet go up, that's what we would have, right? We'd have knee extension. Extension pullers will do that extension through concentric contraction. If the feet go down, that's knee flexion. Extensors will do the flexion through eccentric contraction. Guys, I tell you, that is going to be so important for your careers. Understanding, it may not, and some of you that work in clinics, will kind of see this already. When you're a healthy young adult and you're going work out, there's going to be this ebb and flow of concentrics and eccentrics. But in therapy, there's going to be times where we just focus on a certain type of contraction or a certain type of muscle. And we're going to have to know how to reverse engineer those variables. Okay? So I know you guys have been introduced to the definitions of concentrics and eccentrics. I've been introduced to the definition of salt, pepper, and garlic salt. Doesn't mean I know how to cook with it. You understand what I'm saying? So I know y'all have had those terms before, but have you been taught how to cook with it? That's what we do here. Teach you how to cook. All right. How about this? This is a more difficult one than see on the test. Let's see if I can find a good before and after. Here we go. Boom, 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 boom. Right side, top to bottom. Left side, bottom to top. Meaning start finish. Top, bottom, bottom, top. Agonist contractions. Yeah. Let's focus on the joint that had the most obvious motion. So we're looking at trunk stuff, just in case those. I'm not disrespecting, there would be muscles at the left hip working isometrically and at the cervical isometrically. Let's look at a dynamic question of the muscles at the trunk and how they're working to make me go up and to let me go down. Make sense? And remember, at any time, if it gets confused, do a simple thought experiment. What would happen if the person just turned off all the muscles? That'll show you what the forces are trying to do to you. Ground and gravity. The 3 G's, ground, gravity, gate on. What is ground and gravity trying to do to her trunk? Bend it to her right, Very good. If you don't see that, that's okay. Let's get you to see it. So ask someone next to you, whisper, text them, ask me. Well, we need to be able to see that first. We need to be able to see that ground pushing up on her elbow and gravity pulling down on her center of mass is trying to make her right shoulder get closer to her right hip. So if the ground and gravity is trying to make her right shoulder get closer to her right hip, the last thing we need are muscles that are also trying to. She would literally pull her elbow off from the ground. Okay. So our agonist would be our left laterals. That makes sense. When you're doing a regular plank, you feel it in your tummy muscles. Why wouldn't you feel it on your side tummy muscles when you're doing one on your left side and your right sided tummy muscles when you're doing it on your right side? It's all on the bottom. No different. Okay. You guys had top to bottom. Okay. So top to bottom, gravity's not trying to make that happen. She has to make that happen through concentrics. So left laterals through concentrics. You guys had bottom to top. So my motion would be right lateral bending. The left-sided muscles are letting me bend to my right through eccentrics. Makes sense? Would I need the same sided muscles or different sided muscles for my cervical as compared to my trunk? Different. Yeah. Different. Because if we did the thought experiment at the neck, her left ear would plop to her left shoulder. If her head was on a chair, that would be a similar analogy, right? But it's not. So she would need right laterals to keep her head in that position. So I think this is a good example of don't assume. Just because the left laterals are needed at the trunk doesn't necessarily mean the left laterals are needed at the cervical. Make sense? That would be like saying if you were doing a plank, you know you need your tummy muscles down here for the plank, but you need your erector spinae at your cervical, because if you didn't, your head would flex. No different. I need the ones in the back here, and I need the ones in the front here when I'm doing a plank. The side plank would be no different. I need the ones on the left side here, and I need the ones on the right side. Okay. Same thing.
Can I actually go back to one of the questions we just did?
I'm just happy you're talking. Which one would you like? I'm not you. I'm just happy somebody's talking.
Oh.
Which one would you like to?
Transverse, I was just a little confused about the left horizontal.
No, it would be your right horizontal. It would be your left internals. But 100%, we can go back over that one. There we go. So I think the question was from here, we do left transverse. So from here, we do left transverse. Now, what we may be confusing was my two different questions. Which muscles made you spin? And then once you get to the end, which muscles you're being stretched? So I think that may be where there's some misunderstanding. So the muscles that made you spin, I need right hip horizontal abductors. But then once I get to the end of my motion, because it makes sense if these are shortening through concentrics, these have to be lengthened. So I'd be stretching right hip horizontal abductors, thanks to my right hip horizontal abs. Another way to look at that, if you use your hip flexors to flex, eventually you'll start feeling the stretch in your extensors. So I think the misunderstanding wasn't your understanding of the material, it was what was two different questions.
Yeah, I just.
Oh, you're fine. You're fine. Look, it's easy to get confused. You have flexion, extension, flexors, extensors. But once we can work through that confusion, life gets very easy because we're not throwing out random Latin names. At least I like to look at it as we're translating it into one common language of motion influence. External influences and internal influences that have similar verbiage. And then once we can see that, then we can say, what are those random Latin names for those individual muscles? All right, last one. Let's see. Fly swatter, first of all. I actually love to go to Fly Swatters or Us. It's one of my favorite stores. They have a huge selection. That's professional. Right there. Fly swatter. Goodness gracious. There we go. Look at that. That's what we look like. It's like she's about to. I don't think she's going to hit a fly. She's going to hit the Ruger with something that stranger things fly. All right, here we go. What if you were swatting a fly? I'm just putting this picture for context. So, fly is on a table, and you're in this position right here to swat the fly. So this is your starting position. What would be your agonist that you would need and the contraction type to swat the fly? That's your question. Same question for both of you. All right, also, we'll practice answer choices. Guys, again, by now, elbow flexors concentric, elbow flexors eccentric, elbow extensors concentric, elbow extensors eccentric. And that's how I'm going to ask the question. That's how I'm going to ask the answer. One group in the front, concentric eccentric. One group on the other side, concentric eccentric. I want you guys to give me just the agonist. What you got? Elbow extensors. Good. If you have any questions, look, I'm going to look away. If you have any questions about that, ask your group. You guys give me the contraction. Concentric. All right, I'm going to look away. If you have any questions, I'm going to look at the back walls. Ask somebody for clarification if you're afraid to ask me. Yes, ma'am. Oh, yeah, I could. I would have to find context. I would probably have to find a good picture where like your radial deviated, right? For that last bit of ulnar deviation to concentric. So I could, but I personally would like to, I would make sure to find a picture that set the question, that helps set the question. But absolutely, ulnar deviators to concentrics. Yeah, great question. All right, we started off a little slow, but I think we salvaged it and we finished it off okay. Grace, one more reminder, what time this evening? 5:30 at the computer lab. I was just trying to make sure we're on the same page.
It will be recorded by.
Well, I might help with that. All right, guys, you have a good day.